Hi, I'm Captain Larry Bell with Texas Fishing Tips, and this is your weekly fishing report.
Alrighty, alrighty. All this area down here, these back lake mouths that dump out into San Antonio Bay. Get your top waters out, get your plastics out, start working these guts. Our water has recovered. It has come back to somewhat normalcy as far as what it was prior to last weekend. We had really low tides. Fish all these areas all the way down here to Panther Point, little corner, little lakes in there, in the lake, Swan Lake, back in this area here as well. Good amount of bait fish are working in these areas. You're going to have to be really methodical when you work these. Fish have kind of slowed down just a little bit, but they're fish that are hanging in there. The one thing that's really been taking place with our tides that are really flowing back and forth, we're getting a lot of tidal movement right now. When you're getting in these drains and these guts and stuff that are coming off of these back lakes, position yourself in those deeper edges. Get your top waters, get back in there in those flat areas and really work the shorelines of these lakes. There's some really great opportunities, especially if you like to throw a top water. There's been some really good action on that in both trout and redfish. Now, the deeper edges, as that water continues to drop out or comes flowing back in, depending on what our moon's doing at the time, get on the deeper edges of the mud, the grass, find you some little shell pads, throw your down south. The burner shad has been really good in both white ice and bone diamond. It's continuing to be productive. If you have other flavors or other products that you like to throw them, but make sure it's white. Whatever that you have that you like, that you go with, throw it in white, because that's been money all week long. As far as the topwater bait goes, it can be the chrome and black, it can be the pink. It doesn't matter as long as it's got some type of gray or white belly on it, because that's what most of our bait fish are going to have right now, especially when we're mullet or in the area. Work these shorelines. Golly, work these shorelines down here. There's been some beautiful grass that's showing up in here, and all that stuff that goes in place as far as these back lakes that pop out here on these areas here. Get down into cedar, work your edges in there. There's some redfish that are scattered amongst that. There's some trout that are scattered in and amongst that. Just continue to work these areas, throwing those particular baits. Third chain of islands, all this area down in here. This little reef that's right in here, Belding's Reef, that goes inside of that big, long shell bar that runs all the way up here to the point of Rattlesnake. Fish all this inside there. Get inside that shell bar there. Get out of your boat. Work these areas in here. There's been a nice amount of bait that's been working here. There's great current when that tide starts to either drop out or starts to move back in. There's been a great amount of current that's been pushing through this particular area here, and it's turned on the bite pretty well. Again, the thing that's been the consistency has been the white, either the burner shad or in the regular version of the down south has been good. And again, if there's other particular brands that you like to throw, make sure it's white. Either white diamond, bone diamond, white ice, something that's white, because that's been the color of choice for these fish. They've been really very consistent with that particular color. Blends really well with the water in that, and they can really pick that up. These cut throughs that are up here on this point, work these edges here. There's been some nice redfish that are cruising up and down this shoreline in here. You just have to work the area to find the fish that you're wanting. Again, throw the burner shad, throw the regular size. Right now, especially we're in the transition from the new moon headed back to a full moon. So these are like the wild card days, if you will. So you're going to get all different kinds of bites. You may have some days that are spectacular, some days that are kind of slow, some days that are poor, some days that are good. So that's just why they're wild card, because they're all different kind of actions that will take place. The main thing that you need to be able to do is to put yourself in a position where you can stack a lot of good things in your favor. Tides, moon phase happening, whether it's a major or minor taking place, the ingoing, outgoing tide, whether you got bait working in the area. Always make sure that you got bait working in the area, right size bait, and just continue to work and throw your baits around these islands, inside the shell bar there at Belding's. Work up in Belding Lake as well. The shoreline's there. There's been a few flounder there, even though the flounder regs are in place right now. You can't keep those. We are catching a few of those as well. But the redfish and the trout have been solid up in this area. Over here in St. Charles Bay, the shoreline right here that runs you all the way down and around, takes you all the way up to Egg Point, back around to Boy Scout Camp, all that area there. Get out and work these different areas. Water temp has gotten down into the mid to low 60s pretty consistently now, so You shouldn't have to worry too much about gators up in this area because they don't like the cold water. But that said, you still need to do your due diligence and make sure you're searching the area around before you decide that you want to jump out of the boat in these particular areas, because it's very possible they still could be in the water a little bit. But anyway, these areas that are up around here, there's been nice amount of finger mullet that are working these shorelines. Our bat has been kind of off and on a little bit, but the major thing that's been happening here is up in these areas during our majors and minors. That's when the bite has happened the best. Again, throwing the white and bone diamond in the burner shad and the regular size down south has been money up in this area as well. Throwing the top water bait up against that shoreline, especially with our water levels coming back up. If you've noticed that our grass in a lot of the estuaries has been really good and healthy this year. And that's from all the rains that we've had back early in the summer and in the late summer. But a lot of this stuff is really good. You can throw those top waters up there close to the shoreline. Redfish are cruising really close to that grass. You can get up in there. You'll probably be in some knee-deep, thigh-deep, maybe even calf-deep water, finding your redfish, throwing that bone diamond and white ice in the burner shad and just working that down through the edge of that grass line has produced some really nice redfish all up and down these shorelines in here. Getting toward the back like Cavasso and Boy Scout camp area, those shorelines there have been really good and productive. Find you the sandbar that's out there by Boy Scout and work both sides of that. Bait's been pretty prevalent on that area there, so there's been some good fish that's been hanging out there. There's been some nice box trout that have been produced in there with both the burners and the top water baits. It's been a lot of fun throwing the top water baits, seeing all the explosions and stuff. Lots of good opportunities. Again, make sure that you're incorporating your majors and minors. Find your bait working in these areas and go to work on these. So it may not happen just immediately, but if you'll stick with it and take your time, you'll find your fish in here and you'll find some quality fish.
For watching, I'm Captain Larry Bell.